What's going on? My name is Colin.
And I'm Meg.
Welcome to Did You Pack Snacks, a family travel podcast where we chat all things high, all things low, all the long miles in between. And this episode is all about the beautiful city of Hong Kong.
We're so excited to chat all things Hong Kong. And if you're new to this podcast, we travel with our kids. We're on a mission to take them to 50 countries, and this is country number 31.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I mean, for all list purposes, I'm counting it as 31. Because Hong Kong is technically like, it's a special region of China.
Right, but it's not mainland China. I still like to experience. We're not checking it off and just discrediting the rest of the country.
No, it's still a place.
Yeah.
And I'm counting it.
Well, I'm counting it, but I'd still like to go to the Great Wall.
Also, I think it's so funny because obviously you guys can tell that both our voices are not, let's say,
up to par.
The gold standard that we like to keep ourselves to.
And we actually didn't record last week because I was a squeaky mess. This is a great improvement. But then the virus went to Colin and he's still recovering. So our apologies. If it annoys you, just skip this episode, except don't. Because Hong Kong is awesome. Basically what happened is we just spent the last 4 days in Hong Kong. But before we get to the city, let's talk about that travel day.
Oh, gosh. All right, so getting to Hong Kong is easy. I didn't say it was fun.
Or luxurious.
Or short.
Or comfortable.
But it's easy. You just sit on a plane. That's all you got to do for a really long time.
Yeah, we actually drove to Atlanta, which is a major airport about 2 hours from where we live. Then we took a 2-hour flight to get to JFK.
Oh, great. Tell everyone where we live, will ya?
Well, we live in South Carolina. It's a big state. We drove 2 hours to get to Atlanta, took a 2-hour flight then to JFK, where we had a 7-hour layover because our travel day is ever convenient. No, but we had lounge access.
We did have. It wasn't the best lounge because, let me just say it, the lounges in America are not great. Unless you have a Delta Sky Club or you're part of the Centurion Lounge, most of the lounge access in America is not that great. But you know what? We still enjoyed it. We still loved our cold pasta salad.
You got some free beverages.
The girls got some free Lay's chips, which is a win.
You get to lay on a couch instead of sitting in a busy terminal. There are some advantages. So after we hung out, our flight to Hong Kong didn't leave until 1 a.m., which at first I was not that excited about because we had to keep our girls awake late. Then they started falling asleep around midnight. So we were basically walking and boarding the plane with sleeping kids that aren't the lightest.
No.
They're big kids these days.
It was the worst. It used to be easy when we used to travel with strollers, but we don't do that anymore.
Yeah, we got to carry up those 50-pound kids.
These kids can walk 11,000 steps a day, but not at midnight.
Not at midnight. But while we were boarding, we managed to get them on the plane, kind of get them cozy. And then the best thing ever happened because this flight was over 15 hours. It was about 15 and a half hours to get there. And we got on the plane, got the girls situated. We flew Cathay Pacific, just making sure I said that right. And before we went on, if you're a parent, you've probably seen those inflatable blow up footrests. And they're all the rage on these travel Facebook groups because some planes allow them and some planes don't allow them. If you do a quick search, Cathay Pacific says it's a green light.
Who says that? They say that?
Just the general Google sense said that they were allowed. Yeah. So I thought,
well, we didn't get in trouble.
I'm going to bring them. But we brought them. We didn't get in trouble, but I also didn't ask permission. So once we got up in the sky and they turned off the cabin lights because it was 1 a.m, I just quickly blew them up, shoved them under the girls' feet, got them all situated, and then I passed out. And to my delight, the 4 of us woke up how many hours later, Colin?
7.5 hours later, which is almost a full night's sleep.
Yeah, we all slept for 7.5 hours. I mean, we were wiped. So that is an advantage of leaving in the middle of the night. It's kind of dicey because you never know how it could go.
Yeah.
But this time it worked out. And when we woke up and I saw that we're in the middle of our flight over, I don't know, the North Pole somewhere.
Well, scarily, I think we were over Russia.
Oh, yeah.
We were in a Russian airspace, which I was like, oh, of course, it's Cathay Pacific. They're, they can do that.
It's approved. But that meant that we had 7 hours left. So we just ate, watched movies, played some card games, and it really wasn't as bad as it could have been. I would give it 2 thumbs up as far as economy goes.
Yeah, and I would say like it's a totally different. If you've never done long flights like these before, it's a totally different vibe because when you go back to the back cabin, the staff is like they're there for you. Like they do this all the time, and they know people don't enjoy these flights. So when I went back there, there's just like a cart. Like there's like this is the bar, and you just pour your own drinks. There's beer, there's wine. There's
some snacks.
You can make a gin and tonic if you wanted, literally. And I think I went back there every hour or so, just to be like, hey, do you guys have any chocolate? Do you guys have any ice cream? Like I literally asked for ice cream and they gave me some. Do you guys have any rolls? And I would just keep going back there, and they were so eager to help. And so yeah, don't just sit there thinking, oh, when are they gonna come help me? Everyone's just up and about, chit chatting. You get your own, like I don't know. I treated it like a bar cart, like in one of those trains, and everyone was just chilling back there.
Yeah, and I shared some things on Instagram regarding, tips for traveling with kids on these long flights. They do sound overwhelming, and honestly, before we got on this flight, I was dreading it. I was dreading it the moment that we actually boarded, because I just had this, I was just a little hopeful that maybe the flight wouldn't be full and there would be some empty seats and we could spread out a little bit. And it wasn't. Every seat was full. So there was just kind of that drag when they shut the door, and I thought, man, I'm stuck here. I'm stuck here like everyone else. But
what are some tips though? You had one thing that you did halfway through that you were so proud of?
Oh, I did. I took like an economy shower.
Yeah.
Which basically just means I have this little kit that's got those one-time use toothbrushes. I have a face wipe, some lotion. And when I woke up from sleeping, I just went to the bathroom and I had a moment. I washed my face, I brushed my teeth, and things like that. I think even just mentally helped me feel like, man, I feel fresh.
Yeah.
I'm living the dream back here in economy.
And my tip was, before I got on the plane, I went to the bathroom at the terminal. I switched into my comfy sweats.
And
I did shorts too, like my comfy short sweats. Got some fresh socks, and I just went in there feeling like I'm about to just chill.
It's all about the little luxuries.
Yeah. You just have to like get yourself there.
Right. And I think for our kids, obviously they slept, other than the little footrest, we just used the plain pillows, the plain blankets. Mm-hmm. We did dress the girls in layers. So we put on some sweatpants and a sweatshirt right before we boarded, because planes are a little bit cold, and we brought them socks. And then other than that, we just brought snacks. We brought their iPads that had, some downloaded games and videos for them to play. We brought like a card game. And that was kind of our plan, was just to let them watch shows and sleep and do what we could to get through the flight. And their ages definitely help. They're 5 and almost 7 now, so they can be entertained by a screen. One thing that I did share, when I shared on Instagram, was talking about how when they were littler, and I've seen other families do this too, is you just, like, there are no rules in the sky, right? What rules you have at home, they don't apply when you're in a plane a million miles in the air.
Right. And you want to eat ice cream first before your entree? Go ahead.
Eat ice cream. But it's just like this lollipop method. So if you have a little kid and they love lollipops, you give them a lollipop. They're occupied, they're quiet, they're just sucking away. Then as soon as they finish that lollipop, you give them another lollipop. And I guarantee that's going to do more good than you realize, because these special little treats, I don't know, they just lift the overall morale.
Oh, these kids love a plane travel day. Okay, moving on, because we have a lot to talk about. That was just getting to Hong Kong.
Yeah, so once we got there, can I tell the people about that first day?
Yeah, and this applies to if you're traveling across any ocean. If you're going to Europe, if you're going to Asia, South America, most likely you're going to get there at a very inconvenient time.
Right.
Your body's all discombobulated. You're in a different time zone. And the worst part is you cannot check in.
Right. So most of the time, we landed in Hong Kong at 6 a.m. We got through customs. We got on the other side. Before we left the airport, we found food, because you should never navigate a new city on an empty stomach, right? So we stopped. There's a 7-Eleven, which is just like a convenience store, but they're everywhere here in Asia.
Yeah, but in Asia, it's just like next level. You get
It's
your
like a
hot
QT
food.
or a Buc-ee's. They've got food
Right.
and
They have a microwave, and all their food items are 7-Eleven branded. On the labels, it tells you hit number 6 or hit number 7 when you get to the 7-Eleven microwave.
Yeah.
So like it's a thing. It's a system.
So we ate in the airport. Then we hopped in a taxi to head to our hotel because we just wanted a place to leave our carry-ons. We knew that we couldn't check in probably until 3 p.m., which that early in the morning sounded like an eternity away.
Yeah.
I was dreading it, which in hindsight, since we booked this hotel with points and miles, we should have booked an additional night so that when we arrived, we could check right in. So if you have the capacity or just the thought to do that ahead of time, I would definitely recommend taking into consideration what time you land, especially after a long flight like that. But we missed that opportunity.
We're the people that forgot to book the extra night, and then we proceeded to walk around like zombies in Hong Kong.
We went and found breakfast.
Yep.
We went to a playground.
And then we sat in the lobby and said, hey, just to let you know,
We're right
ready.
here. So we were originally supposed to check in at 3, and around 12:30, they walked over and they were like, your room's ready. I could have hugged them.
But that's after like the third time I went to check. And they were nice.
Yeah, they knew.
They understood. They said, we're going to rush it. We're going to prioritize your room, which I never know. I never know if they're being honest or not. But I was, always treat them with the utmost kindness, big smiles, big understanding. Because, people at the front desk, they can't really do much.
Right. And we get asked a lot, what happens when we're switching time zones? How do we get over jet lag? And there's no formula, but I'll tell you what we've done a few times that seems to have worked well.
Yeah.
So we checked into the hotel at 12:30 after being up and walking around the city since 6:30. Everyone took a shower and then we took a nap. And this nap was supposed to...
Which is against
It's
rules.
against everyone's rules, but I felt terrible. Everyone was tired. So we took showers, we laid down, we set an alarm to wake up around 2:30, 3 o'clock, which we didn't wake up to.
We woke up at 6:30 at night.
We woke up at 6:30. So we took a 4-hour nap. But even though we just wanted to keep sleeping, we knew that wasn't the best thing for us. So we got everyone out of bed. We got dressed. And the great thing about staying in a city is nightlife was going on. Everyone was awake. Restaurants were popping.
Oh, yeah. I mean, our kids walked out the hotel and they saw Hong Kong in all its glory. As soon as we got out, there were like 4 double-decker buses, a sea of people crossing the road, all the lights and all the sounds and the smells. And I think Liv was like,
overwhelmed.
Whoa, where are we?
So we walked to dinner and we got something to eat. We asked the hotel for a recommendation. We went to that little hole in the wall where Liv didn't like the rice because it tasted different.
Oh, yeah. We went to a roasted goose place, which is like huge in Hong Kong. Like there's chicken rice and then there's like this next level up, which is like, imagine like a Peking duck, but this is like a roasted goose and rice and roasted pork, all that kind of stuff. We went there. The girls were like, I think they were just too tired.
They were too tired.
They were not in the mood to try one bite.
No, they weren't. So we did the best we could. Then we swung by 7-Eleven and got them like some croissants and easier snacks just so that they were full. Yeah. And then this is what we did. We needed to keep those kids awake, right? Because they had just taken a 4-hour nap and I needed them to sleep through the night. So we literally got to the hotel room. I handed them their iPads and I said, watch it as long as you want. Because the goal at this point was to keep them awake until 11 or 12 o'clock at night. So we potentially could sleep until 6 o'clock in the morning. And that's exactly what they did. Their little tired eyes, they were like, this is the best thing ever. They stayed awake, watched TV. And then I took them away around 11 o'clock. We all went to sleep and we slept through the night.
We did. We woke up at 6 and the next day was a brand new day.
Okay, so overall, what were your first impressions of Hong Kong? Like when we slept, we got over jet lag a little bit. We walked out of the hotel for our first day. How did you feel?
I felt like it was everything that I used to watch on television as a kid growing up. Like it's as if I've seen it before. Because if you grew up in Asia as a kid, every time you turned on the TV, everything was either from America, or if it was Asian, it was set in Hong Kong. All the famous actors, famous movies, it's all Cantonese. It's all like Cantonese drama is it until like K-pop came and dominated the whole
Stole
world.
the show.
But before the golden era, it's all set in Hong Kong. So like I knew like the names of all these like neighborhoods, and I've seen it. It's always so many neon lights, so many taxis, the classic red Toyota taxis. Kind of like when you think of New York, you think of like the old school yellow cabs. Like in Hong Kong, they're red. And then everyone's just talking over you loud. And so it's just like an assault on the senses. But I was actually very pleasantly surprised because even in the chaos, there was order. Like you could get everywhere easily.
It was crazy clean.
It's super clean. And yeah, you could get around literally on foot. There's not only sidewalks, there's like literal elevated bridges, walkways around, major parts of the city. So you can get around by walking. But we didn't do that because we got around via subway. We did the classic Star Ferry, cross the harbor. We did that several times. And then we got lazy and we got Ubers. We got taxis. We even took a tram all the way up the hill. So transportation wise, it was super easy, but I just felt like it was a giant like city, but it was easily walkable and easily, I don't know, it just felt easy to get around.
It did feel easy to get around, and I just felt like it reminded me of some of the big international cities that we've been to where there were people from all over the world there. I didn't feel like we were sticking out. I feel like the city was created and the instructions are there so that people that are visiting can navigate it really well. It didn't feel confusing. And I thought it was so beautiful. Like I knew a little bit about Hong Kong. I looked up some things before we went, but just the city being on these different islands with, the harbor going through the middle, it was just very beautiful. And, you've got skyscrapers and the busyness of the city. But then, like Colin said, we went up to Victoria Peak and we got to see the city from above, and just with the harbor and the boats in the middle, it felt very unique. You've got mountains in the background. It's like nature meets city. It was just very evident in just the view. And I thought that was really unique to Hong Kong. And I loved getting to see that.
Yeah. And I think it's also worth noting, like, if you've only listened to this podcast the first time and you don't know who we are, what we're about, or how we even look like, you can get on YouTube and watch how we look like. But we're a family of 4 colors. And I just wanted to say in Hong Kong, we didn't get stared at a lot.
Yeah,
which is a good thing. We need to have like some sort of index.
Right.
Because our family, even in America, people often give us double takes.
Yeah, which is fine. I don't mind people looking. I know it's kind of curious to wonder, do they belong to each other?
Right. Because we certainly do not look like
we don't look like we belong to each other. But there are some times where we're traveling internationally where the attention can make our kids uncomfortable.
Right.
And so that is kind of a qualifier for us when we're experiencing a new place. There's just that immediate sense of, we're either uncomfortable here and we need to kind of make our decisions based off of that feeling, or we feel really comfortable, like let's go explore, let's do whatever we want. This is a great place to be. And Hong Kong definitely fit the vibe that we felt very comfortable. It's an international city. There are people from everywhere here. Yeah. And not that there was a high population of international or foreigners present, but we didn't draw a lot of attention to ourselves. So we got a golden sticker on being able to just fit in.
Yeah. Even on the first morning, Megan looked at me and goes, "I like Hong Kong." And usually when she says that, it means that she feels safe and comfortable, that no one is staring at us, no one's staring at our kids or giving them attention that we don't want them to have. And so, yeah, kudos to Hong Kong for that. Real quick on another vibe of Hong Kong, is that it's a lot of people.
It is so many people.
When you are entering elevators, when you are getting on the ferry, you're getting on the train, when you're crossing the street, you're going to be surrounded by people. There's probably going to be a line when you go to the restaurant. You take a ticket, you get in line. So there's a lot of people. But like we said, there is order, but you just got to get used to being in the
I would
mist.
say there's a little bit of chaotic order because even when you're boarding the ferry, one of the things that they'll say over the intercom is to instruct the mass of people to not run. Because the vibe just in general is I'm going to squeeze on and get a seat. And so you just have all of these people
Right.
and it's kind of this cultural norm that you kind of push and shove your way to get to where you're going. And that there's a sense of urgency to get that seat, even though there are a lot of seats.
Like I would say, like if something happened, it could easily turn into panic.
Right.
But it was not that.
It was just, there was a little bit of urgency.
It was urgency.
There was some urgency, but even Liv, you know, she's 5, our youngest. We were getting on a tram, and on the way on, she felt that urgency where everyone's trying to push their way into the door at the same time to get a seat, which was unnecessary because there were a lot of seats to be had. And if not, you just stood up. There was space for everyone. So anyway, when we were getting off the tram, she turned to me and goes, "Let's just be the last ones off."
and
I said,
5-year-old said that.
Yeah, and I said that's fine, we can wait. So we were the last ones off because she was just had kind of picked up on the vibe. Like, we don't need to push our way off. Let's just be the last ones.
Right.
But yeah, there are a lot of people in Hong Kong, especially when you're driving into the city and you see all of the residential apartment buildings.
Oh wow.
I mean, you are just hit in the face with, wow, there are a lot of people here.
Right. I mean, and please fact check me on this. I think there's 7.8 million people in the city. But it doesn't sound like a lot, but there's not a lot of landmass in Hong Kong.
Yeah, it's all very close together.
Right. Yeah.
Another thing that we have to talk about is the food here.
Let's go.
So Hong Kong is known for dim sum.
It's known for dim sum. It's known for a lot of things, a lot of foods that I grew up eating, a lot of your noodles, your, like I said, your roasted porks and meats and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, let's talk dim sum.
I mean,
let's talk our best meal that we had in Hong Kong. Go.
Well, we went to Tim Ho Wan,
Yeah.
which is a Michelin star. It's known as the most affordable Michelin star restaurant in the world.
And it's a chain restaurant. And at first I was a little hesitant to that because, the elitist in me, the snob in me wanted to go to some like mom and pop place that the locals went to. But then I had an epiphany. I was like, it started in Hong Kong. And if it was that good, if it gained enough reputation in Hong Kong to then become global and become a brand worldwide, it has to be good.
It has to be
Why
good.
wouldn't it be good? It has a Michelin star.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, you know what? Forget that.
We're going to go.
Let's just go. And it lived up to the hype.
Yeah, there were so many people there. We went to a handful of restaurants because, again, we were only in Hong Kong for 4 days, 3 of which we actually were functioning humans. Yeah. So we didn't get to go to as many places to eat as we would like. But the places that we did go to, they all had lines. They all had a wait. And this was no exception. So we waited in line. We finally sat down and we kind of looked around. And I just let Colin order. Like, just order all the things. So we ordered all the things and everything was delicious. We got served cold tea. Well, it was like jasmine flavored
cold
tea.
jasmine,
it was
peach
so
tea.
good. Peach tea, that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking. Peach tea. Then we got, what else did we get? We got dumplings.
We got regular siu mai, which is, your shrimp and pork. And then we got wontons in this hot chili oil sauce. We got this spare ribs that were like steamed in this. Here's the thing about Chinese food. Like when you try to describe it using English words, it doesn't sound delicious. Because what I'm about to say is we had we had pork bones in this black bean sauce. And like
you're like,
when you're thinking like in a Western context, it's like, that doesn't sound great.
But it is really good.
Yeah. But like you just have to, turn off your Western brain for a second.
Yeah.
We had that. And then, but the star of the show was the end. We had roasted pork buns. We just had bao, char siu bao, roasted pork buns, which I thought was like, sure. I mean, I guess we have to get them because, they're everywhere in the world.
And they're known for them.
Yeah. But I didn't know that. I thought it was just a regular thing. But then we got it. And I looked around and like the founder of this place is like standing there with his roasted pork buns. I'm like, oh, this is like the signature dim sum dish. And describe it for us.
I mean, it was like, well, because bao in general is soft, like a soft
it's
bread.
like that steamed white bun.
Yeah. And this was like deep fried.
It was deep fried.
And so it looked the same, but when you broke it in half, there was a crunch to it.
Yeah.
And then inside you had this barbecue pork.
Mm-hmm.
And guys, I think it was the fact that it was deep fried. I mean, what is bad when
and
deep
it was
fried?
like sweet. So
was
like
sweet.
Imagine a deep fried Hawaiian roll.
Yes.
Right?
Soft, yep.
With like the best barbecue roast pork in the middle. And that was that.
That's true. It was the combination of savory, sweet, soft, crunchy.
It was
barbecue.
everything.
It was
Umami.
everything.
It was all of it.
And I don't even eat bread. It makes my stomach hurt. But Colin broke it open and took a bite, and I just had to.
We broke bread that day.
We broke bread, and I tried it, and I just ate a little bit of it, but it was enough for me to still be thinking about it days later.
And that was the moment where we said, we have arrived in Hong Kong.
We have arrived.
Like, that was like 2.5 days in, and we were like, okay, Hong Kong.
This was a great meal. Yeah, I left just feeling like, man, that was good. Another place we went to, do you remember the name? It had a Michelin star too.
We went to Yatlok. It was a 1-star Michelin restaurant. We stood in line for like
a half an hour,
maybe more. And we got crammed into this tiny little hole in the wall. But their specialty is your char siu, suyok, which is roast pork, barbecue pork. You got your goose, like that's a big thing there. So we just had that in little plates, and it was good.
It was good. I think for that restaurant, I definitely think the food lived up to the hype. Like it was delicious. Experience was, you waited in line, which I'm not against waiting in line for something that's delicious. But then you basically sat person per seat, and it was a really small space.
You don't get your own table, by the way.
No, so we were sitting, like Colin was across from strangers. The lady across from me was like coughing, and we were so close together.
And that's the thing in Hong Kong too. Like other restaurants we go to, they would just put like a fiberglass barrier in between. Well, this one didn't have it. But you could be sitting at a table with other people. They don't care.
No. Well, again, the amount of people and then the size of these restaurants.
Right. Real estate in Hong Kong is a thing.
It's very valuable. So I would say that one was a little bit more challenging for me experience-wise, because I felt like squeezed into this like little table. We were sitting with these strangers. She was coughing. Not my favorite thing. Yeah. So I just felt like I had to eat and leave, which kind of took away from the experience. But another thing you could do if you didn't have kids with you, or you just had more time, is you can also get the same meal to go, and you can go eat it somewhere else.
You know what the lady said in Cantonese while we were eating?
What?
She was eating her stuff, we were eating, and I was like busy taking content, filming everything. And she mutters to her husband, "Wow, I didn't know eating can be this much suffering."
This much suffering.
It was just a lot.
Well, yeah, and the kids, anyway.
But
it was
now
a lot.
looking back, I'm like, maybe that was the draw of this place. Maybe it's like you just want to be thrown into the chaos. Maybe you just want that.
That's true. And maybe we were just too hangry to appreciate it in all of its glory.
And look, now we're talking about it.
Yeah.
So maybe they're up to something.
It made an impression. What else was I going to say?
So we went to all these Michelin star restaurants, but don't be fooled. Like sometimes you're tired, you have to walk 12,000 steps, and all you want is Pizza Hut.
Or not even Pizza Hut. I think we just wanted a meal where we weren't asking our kids to try something new.
Yeah.
And so we just wanted them to have a win. I ate a salad. You guys shared a pizza.
Yeah, I had some wings. It was great.
It was great.
And sometimes it's fine. Do that too. Okay, guys? Give yourselves permission. Okay, let's talk about things to do in Hong Kong. We've talked about food. We've talked about transportation. We've touched a little bit on accommodations. Maybe we can talk about that a little bit before we talk about things to do.
Okay.
Hotels in Hong Kong, like we said, real estate is a thing. Don't expect your rooms to be huge.
No, they're small.
They're small. And here's a huge thing. The max occupancy for each hotel room is 3 people. So if you're a family of 4 like us, it's a little tricky. You can't, when you put 4 in all the search engines, they're gonna want to book 2 rooms for you. And the way to get around that, which this was huge, I reached out to my Points and Miles community because we booked our hotel fully on points. through our IHG credit card. So when you book 3 award nights, you get 1 night for free, which is why we were in Hong Kong for 4 nights and 4 nights only, because it is expensive there. And I think normal rates are at like 300 a night. Like, expect those kind of numbers. So which is why I always use your points, your miles, save it for Asia. I booked for 4 nights. I think it was like 80,000 points, which is really easy to accumulate on the IHG card. Blah, blah, blah. But now we're going to talk about things to do in Hong Kong. Hey guys, Colin here. Okay, so while I was editing the episode, I realized I never really answered the question on how to book a hotel for more than 3 people in Hong Kong. So here's the way to do it. Just book your hotel normally as you would, but for 3 people. And then once you do, just send a kind email explaining your situation, tell them how old your kids are. And I just got back an email from management that said that was totally fine. You know, it's just a search engine that doesn't allow you to. But if your kids are under 12 and they can share a room with you, that's totally fine. And it's actually a very common thing in a lot of countries. We're currently in Indonesia, and it's also the same rule. You can only fit 3 people in a room. But I did the same thing where I booked it for 3 people, and then I emailed them, and we were fine. So back to the podcast.
Yep. So one of the things we knew we had to do was to go up to Victoria Peak, which is basically just an overlook of the city. I kind of mentioned that already, but we took, what would you call that?
It's called a tram, Megan.
It's called a tram, but then the other thing we did is also a tram.
Right.
So we went on this is the mountain tram.
They call it the peak tram.
The peak tram. So we went on the peak tram. That was the one I was saying there was a lot of hustle and bustle about getting on this tram and getting off. But once you got to the top, what I didn't expect was I thought it would just be a nature overlook. But instead we got off the tram and there was a literal mall at the top. With restaurants, I mean, you had everything from pizza to McDonald's to international food. There was a Starbucks up there. And there were a lot of beautiful places that you could overlook and see the city. And we got to stay there until sunset. And it was beautiful. Yeah. I mean, I definitely get why so many people go up there. I think you can also hike to get up there.
But you don't want to.
I mean, we didn't prefer that. We took the tram.
You don't want to hike up for hours and then end up at a mall.
But I definitely think that it's a beautiful thing to do because it gives you a perspective of the city, of how beautiful it is. You get to see the harbor. You get to see the mountains.
How big it is.
The other thing that we saw when we were up there is Hong Kong is a city of people that love their dogs.
These dogs, they're wearing socks and shoes and all.
They're wearing socks and shoes.
These dogs have fans.
They have portable fans. One dog was hanging out at a Starbucks on a pee pad. I was like, I guess they're hanging out here a while.
They went up the entire mountain just to sit there with their dog. Another dog was sitting at the table eating like a little piece of cake, I think it was the dog's birthday.
Yeah, sitting like a proper human.
Yeah.
Eating a piece of cake. I mean, they're in strollers, they're in, baby carriers. It's a whole thing. And honestly, it's really fun to observe and to look at. Just to find these dogs. The girls think that it's awesome just to find these dogs everywhere that are like humans. They're just a part of the family.
Yeah. Okay, my favorite thing that we did, though, was we got on the historic tram tour. So the cool thing about Hong Kong is it's the only city in the whole world that can brag that they have an all double-decker fleet of trams. So think like your trams in Lisbon, like the ones in San Francisco. Hong Kong is the only one that the entire fleet, there's about 100 of them that are double-decker trams. And then there's a few like cool ones. There's like a few ones that were built in turn of the century, as in like the year 2000, where they look like a little bit modern. There's a few of those, but then people didn't like them. And so, they didn't make those anymore. And then there's 2 trams that you can hire for birthday parties or like private events, which we did see.
We saw there's a little girl's birthday party and they filled the tram with balloons and there were girls dancing on the second floor. I thought that would be so fun.
If we lived in Hong Kong, we would do that, maybe for even my birthday. And then there was one tram and one tram only that was turned into like a a mini museum / like tour. Think like your big bus tours in all these cities. Hong Kong has them too, the big bus ones. But then we decided to just do it on the tram, which are affectionately called ding dings, just because of the bells, ding ding. So we got on a ding ding, and we rode from one end of Hong Kong to the other on the tram. It was like an hour tour, and this was my favorite because the top, instead of it being a regular double decker, they opened. It's a open top double decker tram. And we just sat there.
Yeah, we got to go through all the different parts of the city. We got to see a lot of things that we wouldn't have seen had we not been on the tram, just because they were parts of Hong Kong that we wouldn't have walked to. We didn't know much about. There was a tour. You could listen on headphones in whatever language that you preferred. And it was just a beautiful day. The sun was out, and it was so cool to go through these different districts. One of them, what was the shopping one that you said was really popular in all your TV shows?
Causeway Bay.
There's that's like the shopping district.
That's where like the Times Square is, and like, your regulars, your H&Ms and all that stuff's all there.
But as we were taking the tram through Causeway Bay, there are just thousands of people. And so it was just a unique perspective to be above the crowd and just get to look at the organized chaos of the city, people crossing the road, going into shops. I would definitely recommend doing a bus tour or a tram tour when you're in Hong Kong. Do
the tram tour.
I mean, we love the tram tour, but I'm saying just in general, that bird's eye view of going through different parts of the city that otherwise you probably wouldn't have visited.
Right.
Another thing Hong Kong is known for is they have the largest covered escalator thing. What would you even call that?
I actually don't know. Think about a neighborhood that is built on the side of a mountain with a lot of cool restaurants, a lot of cool shops, shopping. But instead of walking upstairs, Hong Kong just decided, let's just build escalators.
But they're covered escalators.
The whole way.
They have roofs over them. But you just ride up the mountain and then hop off every street you can hop off before you get back on an escalator to keep going.
Right. And I thought that was the coolest thing. Especially, that was where all the like international restaurants were, like an Argentinian place, a Turkish place. And so you could go on like a food hopping tour there, and it would be fun. And then from there is also like, there's also so much shopping.
There's so much shopping.
I've never seen so many Louis Vuitton shops in one city, or like Gucci, and then, but all your, regular, big box stores, they're all there. And every block that you go on, there's shopping to do. There's food to eat.
There are malls. It's kind of like if you're bored, you don't know what to do, just go in the nearest mall and walk around for a bit, grab a coffee, sit down. Like,
I don't even know the mall count of Hong Kong, but it's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
I loved it. I can't believe, granted, we were only there for, 4 days. It was a great experience. I'm glad that we got to go. And then the best part that we're going to talk about on the next episode, the best part is we got to take the girls to Hong Kong Disneyland.
Which was a hoot.
It was a hoot. It was Liv's first time, Char's first time that she remembers going to any Disney park. So we're excited to share that experience with you because there were a lot of things that were similar to Disney in the States and some things that were different.
Yeah.
But overall, it was still a really magical day.
Right.
So tune in to our next episode. We're going to be sharing all things Disneyland in Hong Kong. And then we get to share about where we are now.
Which is, can we tell them?
Yeah.
We're sitting in our hotel in Bali, Indonesia. Our kids are at a kids club right now. But yeah, we're going to keep venturing on. You guys keep tuning in. We got lots to share, lots of stories. But yeah, in the meantime, don't forget to pack snacks.
See you next time.